What is going on, everyone? My name is Andy. Welcome back to another FPL video. It's team selection time for game week 36 plus. Only 3 game weeks left now. Big transfer moves to be made, big rank gains to get. Hopefully, actually got a green arrow this week. I'm going to talk about that in a minute for the game week 35 plus review, how it's going so far. Then I'm going to take you through my transfers, captaincy for game week 36, and generally how I'm feeling about my team and what players I'm looking to move on. Before we do that, I just want to quickly talk about our sponsor for this video. So One Footballer once again kindly sponsoring this video. Really happy to have them back. If you want to check them out, it's a completely free football app where the link is in the description below. That will take you straight through to the store so you can download it and give it a go. Like I said, completely free. Get all your football news, your team news, your lineup news, some of your stats as well. And it also has push notifications for goals. So when you see Antonio banging in his 4th goal of the week, you will get a notification to show that. Hopefully it'll be the likes of Pulisic versus Norwich for game week 36 plus. But if you haven't tried it out already, like I said, link in the description below, completely free. Give it a go and see what you think. We have a green arrow. I've forgotten what they feel like. I'm sorry, there are no rants today. I'm not even annoyed about Ben Foster because at the end of the day, he equaled Nick Pope this week. And from now on, which I'll talk about in a minute, I don't have to play him for the rest of the season. So extremely happy to get a green arrow, especially in the way it came about. Didn't make a single transfer this week, so didn't do Jimenez to Vardy, which I did consider. The one reason I didn't do it really because it was a 1-week punt. Obviously, didn't expect it to go quite how it did. Jimenez got pretty jammy with his goal from a penalty. Vardy, to be fair, he also got a bit lucky given the way the goal happened. And then Bournemouth just absolutely smashed Leicester. So I don't really know what happened there. But extremely happy that I saved my transfer and Jimenez outscored Vardy by 1 point. So pretty happy. 67 points so far. 181,000 rank. Now, don't get me wrong. Still not happy with that. But considering where I've been, how this season's gone, I'm pretty happy with being there. I'm about 31 points off the top 100k. If I could finish in there now, I think that'd be a good finish for what has been a bad season. And I've still got 3 players to come tonight. So Harry Maguire, Martial and Fernandes captain as well. So it could be some big scores. I know they're very well owned. But obviously, some people have captain Man City players, etc. So all to play for. And even if Fernandes does well, I at least can't be punished by him now because I've got him as captain against Southampton. So looking good for this week. That's come down from 319k ranks. So it's 140,000 place increase, mostly down to Antonio. 4 goals. Look, a lot of people will tell me that's lucky. You're absolutely right. 4 goals is lucky. But for him to get like 1 or 2 goals in that game, I don't think that was lucky. It was Norwich. Really good underlying stats for the whole season so far. Or at least, sorry, since restart, not the whole season. And he looks good going forward as well. So really happy with him. 26 points, lucky. Getting a couple of goals, definitely not. Mahrez, Jesus chipped in as well. I've been saying he deserves more points the way he's been playing. I know a lot of people will say he's rubbish, but this is what he does. He's a striker for Man City. He's going to get chances. It's just a tap-in. It doesn't matter. You guess what? You still get 4 points for your striker when they score a tap-in and 4 points when they score a 30-yard shot. He could score another 7 tap-ins before the end of the season. Who cares if he's getting you FPL points? So I really like Jesus, 2 assists as well. And again, good underlying numbers from him the whole season when he's been given minutes. And now Aguero's out, he looks like a really good option. So quite happy with my Man City players. I'll talk about Sterling a little bit more in a minute. And Saiss getting a clean sheet was decent. I know Trent didn't start. I could have started Egan instead. But realistically, I didn't expect Sheffield United to get a clean sheet against Chelsea. So really good result. Egan now has returns in the last 3 games. And I'm probably still not going to play him next week. So Game Week 35 plus has gone really well. Let's talk about Game Week 36 plus. The deadline is tomorrow. So going into Game Week 36 plus, I do have 2 free transfers now because I saved my transfer from last week. So that's kind of big. I don't necessarily have to use them this week, but at some point I can make kind of a double change. Now, I got 2.5 million in the bank as well, so I'm a little bit flexible. There's some moves I can't make. I can't do Mahrez to Sterling, for example, but I'll talk about that in a second. Looking at the defence, I finally get to bench Ben Foster, who's playing West Ham away. So he's playing Antonio. If this is the week where Foster gets his first clean sheet from the restart, I'll be absolutely raging. Hoping it doesn't happen. McCarthy has Brighton at home. That's a good fixture, I think, instead. So definitely playing McCarthy. In terms of my defence, like a few people have started asking me about whether they or I should get rid of Trent Alexander-Arnold. Now, Liverpool's fixtures are not fantastic for the rest of the season. They're rotating quite a bit. Now, I don't mean they're rotating like 6 or 7 players at a time, but they are giving players a rest here or there. Now, they could potentially against Arsenal play their first 11 team. And we might see that again before the end of the season. Maybe they'll do that for the last game of the season. The key for me is I don't massively need any money from reducing him, like from getting rid of him to someone else who's a lot cheaper. I don't really need the money. And also, I don't know where I would go. Like, if I look at the teams with the 3 kind of best fixtures for defensive returns for the rest of the season, Man United, pretty good. I already have Maguire. Wolves, pretty good. I already have Seiss. Burnley, pretty good. I have Taylor. Egan, pretty good. Or Sheffield United, pretty good. I have Egan, etc., etc. And I've got Southampton goalkeeper already. I don't... Look, Southampton's fixtures are good for the rest of the season. They're not double up on defence good for me. So I don't really need to get rid of Trent. And we know what he can do. So I'm probably going to keep him. I just feel like there's other transfers I can do that are better. Wolves, I keep saying it, look, attacking-wise, they might not be looking great. And I probably would disregard the Everton result a little bit because Everton was so bad. But again, defensively, very good. And they have been keeping a lot of clean sheets. And given that Doherty hasn't been getting any attacking returns the last few weeks, Seiss has looked like incredible value considering he's like 1.5 million less. So really happy about him. And Harry Maguire, look, I've got 2 free transfers. I could still make that Greenwood switch now, only this time for free. But I don't think I'm going to do it. Look, Greenwood's been great, and I'm sure he'll keep scoring for the rest of the season. Is he going to score a brace every single week? No. And we saw last week he just got 1 goal, 1 bonus point, 7 points, which is great. But Maguire got 6. So there's nothing to say that Maguire will be heavily outscored by Greenwood by the end of the season. Not to say that I think Greenwood will do badly. I just think maybe there's better moves I can make with my transfers. So Maguire stays for now unless something crazy happens against Southampton. Defence is looking quite good. I could arguably play Egan this week, even though he's 3rd sub right now, because he plays a Leicester team that got quite a few injuries at the moment. And Taylor has Wolves at home. So again, those 2 I'm quite happy with on my bench this week. But otherwise, yeah, not getting rid of Trent. Rest of the defence looks good. I'm more than happy with it. Transfers to be used elsewhere. So bringing in the midfielders, and I would say there's 2 players here that I don't own that I would quite like to have. One of them Sterling, which we'll talk about in a sec. And the other is one of the Chelsea boys, Pulisic or Willian. Now, I know people love Pulisic. He's done really well. He's looked good. But Willian's done well too. His underlying stats are better. He has got returns. He is on penalties. Jorginho did start the last game. Whether or not he starts the next one, I don't know. Whether or not he'd take the penalty, I do not know. But there's a reason that Antonio did so well last week. Yes, he has looked good. Yes, he was good value for his goals. 4 still a bit lucky. But why? Because he played Norwich and they were awful. Now, we don't yet know whether Chelsea are going to do any kind of rotation. Will it be rotation in the attack? I'm not convinced. Will we get early team news before that game? Potentially. And if we do, that could be huge. So I'm thinking about getting Pulisic or Willian in. I'll probably be Pulisic. But the only thing is, this reminds me of last week when I could have done Jimenez to Vardy, but it was just for 1 week because as good as Vardy has been this season, I don't know if I would want him for the next 3 fixtures. He'll probably do okay, but he's not a priority for me. And that's the same thing with Pulisic. Norwich at home looks great, but after that, it's Liverpool, and then it's Wolves. And I just don't know if that's 2 fixtures that I really want him in for. So the question is it worth a transfer in, then a transfer out? Using 2 of my free transfers just to bring him in and back out. Now, if it's just for that 1 week, and I'm not going to captain him, then it's probably not. Similar to Jamie Vardy, I was happy to captain Fernandes in Gameweek 35+. Do I want to captain Pulisic, though, against Norwich? That's a different matter. And to be honest, I don't know if I do. I think Man City got Bournemouth at home. I could run the risk of captaining one of them. And let's be fair, Crystal Palace have not been keeping many clean sheets. In fact, when you watch them play, they are trying to play a bit. They're not sitting deep. Now, they might try and do that against Man United because trying to play against Man United is a bit different to some of the teams they've played. But Liverpool destroyed them. I think it was, 3 or 4-0 in that game. So Fernandes captain again is not the worst call. So do I absolutely need Pulisic in? No. Is he a big differential though? And could he get a big score against Norwich? Absolutely. So I am considering it. In terms of Man City players, look, people keep saying to me, is Mahrez going to start? Will he start? Will Jesus start? I don't know. No one knows. There's only a certain amount of times in a week I can shrug my shoulders. I have no clue. I've got De Bruyne, I've got Mahrez, and I've got Jesus. My plan right now is just to stick with them, see who gets minutes against Bournemouth, and just go from there. What I do know is I want 3 Man City players for the rest of the season. Now, someone like David Silva will probably play this week because he didn't play the last one. And he'll probably play in Game Week 38 because that's going to be his last league game for Man City. Not necessarily his last game at the Etihad because they've got Champions League and stuff to go. But it's his last league game for Man City. So he's almost certainly going to play in Game Week 38. So if you wanted to take a punt, you can move on one of Mahrez, Sterling, De Bruyne, whoever you've got, and bring in David Silva for the next 3 weeks, and hopefully he gets 2 starts. Probably not 3. I don't think he can play 3, but remember the break between the kind of final game week and the last game week is a little bit longer. So maybe he'll get some more time off then. But he's probably going to start, I think, Bournemouth and Norwich at home, which, to be fair, if you're going to get someone, he's probably the best one, or they're the best 2 fixtures. So for me right now, I'm looking at this team. I could get De Bruyne to Sterling. A little part of me feels like, have I missed the boat on that? I should have done it last week, of course. The great thing about Sterling is, though, even with his transfers in this week, which is stand at about 80,000 at the time of recording this, he's still going to be a much bigger differential than De Bruyne, and that does excite me a little bit. So I am tempted to still make that move, but I'm probably going to keep Mahrez. I keep seeing people say he's definitely going to be benched this week. Is he? Maybe. Who knows? Who's the most important player for the FA Cup? Is it Mahrez? In which case, yeah, maybe he gets a benching. Is it Sterling? Maybe he'll get benched. Well, he's not played many minutes recently. I know. And Mahrez keeps getting taken off early too. So it's impossible to say. I really like the look of this midfield. Again, unless something happens in the Man United-Southampton match where I need to get rid of Fernandes or Martial, I'm probably going to stick with how it is, to be honest. I almost, a part of me feels like going for Sterling or David Silva is a more exciting and possibly a bigger points potential move than Pulisic. Don't get me wrong, Pulisic for this week looks great, but I don't think he looks great after that. And if you're not going to captain him, then I'm not so sure he's a good 1 week punt. I actually think David Silva could do damage against Bournemouth, and then he has Norwich at home on the last day of the season as well. So he's definitely going to get minutes there. So I'm really happy with this. I think Man City is impossible to call. I'm just happy I've got 3. Fernandes captain right now, but I might switch that to Jesus. We'll see. Okay, so this is where we get to transfers. Like I said, Jesus, I might captain him potentially. He came off again around the 60-minute mark. Again, there's nothing to say he won't play 60 minutes against Bournemouth and then be brought off. And I've kind of been talking a lot about why I think he's a good option recently. Obviously, I've only had him 2 weeks. And a lot of people say he's a bad finisher. He's not as good as Aguero. It does not matter when he's playing for Man City. He gets chances. Well, he misses a lot of those chances. Who cares when he finally puts the one in the back of the net? Yes, it was a tap-in against Brighton. It doesn't matter. You get exactly the same amount of points, as I've already said. Against Bournemouth, there could be points. Against Norwich, there could be points as well. It's really good fixtures for Man City. Just get 3. Whether that's Jesus, whether it's Foden, Sterling, whoever it is, I think you just need 3 at the moment. You just roll the dice. Now, captaincy-wise, obviously, I am as unsure about everyone about who's going to start. If I think Jesus gets minutes, I might stick it on him. But obviously, we know Fernandes is going to get good minutes until Man United have the game won. So it's probably going to put me off enough. And I feel like Jesus and Mahrez are probably still differential enough where I can probably not captain them and still reap the rewards if they do well. Now, obviously, if I captain the right one, like if I'd gone for Jesus last week with 14 points, and that ends up being a bigger score than Fernandes, then my rank increase would have been even more. But still, I think I've got enough differentials in Antonio, Mahrez, Jesus, and Martial, to be fair, to a certain extent. That's probably good enough for me, so I don't think I'm going to captain him. Jimenez is probably my transfer out this week. Now, I can do the Maguire-Greenwood switch if I wanted to, but again, I don't know if there's any defenders I'd really want to bring in. So right now, it's looking like Jimenez to Danny Ings. Now, Danny Ings isn't necessarily low-owned, but he's not as well-owned as he has been. A few people will definitely make that move this week. Maybe Vardy to Ings as well. But given their fixture, Southampton, he's probably the one I want to go for. It's Brighton and then Bournemouth the next 2 fixtures. So looking really good for Southampton. And they've probably been one of the better teams since the restart. Man United have obviously been great too, and Man City and Liverpool as well. But outside of that, Southampton have been one of the better teams. So I kind of want to bring him in. With Jimenez, like if you own him, I'll just quickly say this. I don't think he's necessarily a must-sell. Now, don't get me wrong, he got pretty lucky against Everton to get that penalty. But the next 3 fixtures, Burnley's tricky enough, but there's Chelsea and Crystal Palace in there as well. And those 2 teams are not keeping many clean sheets. So if you've got more important priority transfers to make, I'd probably just make them than necessarily forcing Jimenez out. Granted, I don't think there's necessarily too many goals in that Burnley game, but beyond that, he could be an okay option. So I wouldn't write him off just yet. For me, I just think players like Ings and Greenwood, and obviously Jesus, if you don't already own him, I've got more points in them for the last 3 games, given the fixtures and given the form and stuff. But for me, Jimenez isn't necessarily, like, thinking of it as a broader picture, not just my team. I don't think he's necessarily a kind of, force him out of your team. But my 1 free transfer will probably be Jimenez to Ings. My other one I might roll. I could do Mahrez to Pulisic, but then I'd pretty much just be straight reversing that the week after. I could do Antonio to Pulisic, And then they'll kind of be stuck because Antonio plays Man United and Villa, Pulisic plays Liverpool and Wolves, I think it is. So I don't really necessarily want either of those two. So maybe Antonio to Pulisic for Norwich and then bringing in another midfielder the next week. Maybe that's the play to go for. But outside of Man City and Man United, I don't really know who I'd want for the last 2 games of the season. Like Trossard for Brighton is a bit of a punt. McNeil for Burnley. But I just think the way Antonio is playing, I probably just keep him. So it could just be Jimenez to Ings, save the other transfer, maybe use it the week after. If I'm really feeling punty, maybe Mahrez to David Silva or Mahrez to Pulisic. But yeah, I'm just not sure about him. Let me know in the comments below what you think about Pulisic. I know a lot of people love him. In terms of expected goal involvement since the restart, there's 31 players ahead of him. I know what people will say, eye test, eye test, eye test. I get that. He has looked good. And it is Norwich. But when you think about it being a 1-week transfer, to use 2 precious transfers, we've only got 3 weeks left now, 2 precious transfers to bring him in and then straight back out again. Is that worth it? Let me know in the comments below. That's it for this video. Hopefully you've enjoyed it. If you have, make sure to give it a like and subscribe if you're new around here. Plenty more videos to come before the end of the season. If you want to check any of my other videos, they're on to the right as well. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Like, comment, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. I'll see you soon.